Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Welcome to Let's Have Renaissance, a podcast about writing, editing, publishing, literature, the arts, and more. I am Ito Otini.
And I'm Makaya Otini, and today we're speaking with Nami Yamamoto. Nami is a dancer, choreographer, and puppeteer. Her show Headless Wolf won the Bessie Award in 2017, and she's been supported by the Jim Henson Foundation, City Artist Corps, the Foundation for Contemporary Arts, Movement Research, the New Dance Alliance, the Maggie Allesee National Center for Choreography, and others. She currently teaches at Lehman College and in New York City's public schools. We're excited to be with her today.
Thank you for tuning in. We're excited that you're here. Why don't you also subscribe, like, comment, and share this episode with your friends?
And if you know anyone who wants to come on the podcast, please do send them our way. Also, if you haven't yet, sign up for our free newsletter where we share updates, resources, and opportunities. To support the podcast, you can make a one-time donation through our website or purchase a subscription to our blog where you'll find more premium content and resources at thedatekeepers.com. Thank you for being a part of our community.
Nami, thank you so much for joining us today. We're excited to have you. Can you please tell us about yourself?
Yeah, I'm Nami, and I am choreographer, dancer, puppeteer, and teaching artist, and so all of that.
So you are the first puppeteer we've had on this podcast. Can you tell us about that art form and your history with it, how you got
Yeah,
involved, what
sure.
it entails? Yeah.
Yeah, I am. I'm primary choreographer. That's from the dance, but I was first introduced to do puppetry with my dear friend Dan Holland. That was back in 2000, I would say, like 4. He was creating this puppetry based on true story about Hiroshima Maiden. This the woman who disfigured by the atomic bomb. They came to the state to get the surgery. So I was like a part of that production, but I was new to puppetry. I had no idea how to do anything, but there was like 3 dancers in the project. Then he introduced how to manipulate a puppet. It was like a Bunraku style. There's the main person that manipulate the head and sometimes pelvis of the hand. The other person's the hand and the feet. So that was actually the beginning of that, getting into the puppetry.
So do you write puppet shows? Is there a script?
When I work with other people, they didn't have a script, but I'm like based on more the dance. So when I use a puppet in my show, for me, puppet is a dancer to me. So I kind of invite the puppet as a performer rather than just try to manipulate or create the story. I like figuring out how they move or how the little detail actually tell the story. That's the part I love about it. The movement is very,
Interesting.
very interesting, and it's for me like learning about their emotional state by the movement. Yeah.
Interesting.
So they don't
Mhm.
really talk, they just move.
So, can you tell us about how you first got into puppetry?
The first time when I used a puppet was I actually asked my friend Matt Atchison to create the puppet for my project, and he actually make a puppet from object, like found the object. So the puppet had the big like belly. I asked him to make like I want to see the puppet like baby, but at the same time the old man. So he brought it something like a small shell, like turtle shell on the front as a little belly, and the back had the little violin, and the leg and everything was kind of founded object. So it does look like a person, but it's very much like you find something from somewhere, like a little baby shoes became the puppet's feet. But that his idea was all this little founding object actually has a history. So when you put it together, the puppet itself start having like history, which I love about it, how he make it. So we used the puppet as my piece. His name was Tony. And the other one, the second piece I made, I asked Matt to bring into his puppet. I've seen his puppet in his apartment, so I said, "Can idol come into my piece?" So it was like almost like asking the puppet to be my dancer. And the last one, I couldn't work with him, so I only can make the puppet with my hand. It was like a paper puppet. It's just a very simply created by wrapping paper and just make head and a leg and just with wrapping paper with all this masking tape. So that was manipulated by you put the feet on the puppeteer's feet and the hands, we use a hand. It's like that little figure. It's just simply paper things become like a puppet. That's the way I use this. I think it's on my dance work. I make a contemporary dance work, and my work is very much based on like visceral kind of feeling. I like how the movement can tell the story. So the puppet, the puppet that sometimes doesn't like a puppet, but it became some like a living creature. So
And how big are these puppets?
yeah, it's most of them are like a 3 feet. So the paper puppet is 3 feet. The puppet Matt brought it, that was marionette, but that was also 3 feet. So it's not like a big or anything. It's small, and I also like the contrast between the small figure and like I'm only 5 feet, but it's like this human figure is quite different. But once something else, something like this puppet or paper puppet, they don't have a life, but when they have a life, they're very strong performer because that's the only thing they do. The whole body got fulfilled with something. For me, sometimes I feel like I have so much stuff in my head. I can't really compete with the puppet. They're like amazing performers. Yeah. Yeah.
And did you grow up wanting to become an artist, or is it something that you later came to?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I started dancing when I was 3. I have 2 sisters and I have to do everything what they did. So my sister was dancing and I just went with her. So that was 3, but I always like moving around and playing outside and very much like tomboy. And I did a lot of sports and running and swimming. And so I grew up in Japan. So when I was thinking about like, what am I going to do in my college? And I just didn't know what to do. And my sister said, well, you should probably study or do something, whatever you like. I mean, it's the time you have 4 years to research and do something you like. And then I thought about, well, okay, what do I really like? It was the only thing I liked was using my body. Like I was being athlete and all. So I thought, well, okay. I mean, the swimming was good, but it was hard. Running was, I like it, but it also was hard. Dancing was fun at the point. It's like every time when I do it, I feel like I just felt so fulfilled. So I decided like, okay, I'm gonna go to study dance. That was like the beginning of it. Then I realized it's like creating a work is more than just dancing to me. It just became like breathing. I just can't live without that anymore.
Did you study in Japan or in the US? And what type of dancing did you learn? And has anything changed or evolved as you advance in your field?
Mainly when I was growing up, my teacher was modern dance teacher. So that's the main thing. Very free, creative movement kind of thing. When I was little, middle school, high school, you see the TV and you start seeing a little bit more different kind of style. And the college was more modern dance with jazz dance and kind of figure. But I grew up in south part of Japan. It's not like big city like Tokyo. Only the teacher have my teacher from a college. She was only resource to me. But at the same time, she wanted the student to kind of see the bigger world. So she brought me to New York when I was in, I think it was sophomore. So from that point, I was like, okay, there's something I can do. I can learn more from here. So when I graduated from like college, I decided to come to New York and I went to NYU. So when I come here, I felt like there's an improvisation, somatic movement. There are so many kinds of things I can kind of tap into it. And for me, getting into the improvisation class was something like really opening my eyes to me. It's like I never learned anything like that, and I really liked it going through it. And also, I took the dance therapy class, and which was kind of amazing too, like how to really think about you're laying down, and then my teacher said, "Okay, just think about this is the first time you're getting up from the floor. How you do that?" It was like that was just really amazing to just figuring out from how can I get up from my floor just laying down to just standing up? Like, how do you do that? And that kind of like question and answer I had to figuring out was really interesting to me. So that's the way I really changed a lot from learning and studying from Japan to being here.
And you mentioned that you tell stories through your dances. How does that work? Do you compose the story in advance? Do you find the story as you're composing the dance and as you're
Yeah.
choreographing it?
Well, thanks for asking me for that. I usually start from my personal life. Let's say, for example, last Trooper's Brother, which was premiere 2022, was because I have to go through breast cancer surgery. So
Oh, wow.
that was something I was hold on to it. And then one of my friends who was in the piece, she said, "Yeah, how you doing?" And she's very close friend, but she's the one actually encouraged me to make something out of it. And then I was like, okay, I'm just gonna try to do something. So I start creating brought it a lot of like breast shaped object. It's a really funny thing to huge breast shaped beach ball to like a little squishy ball, something like that, to the paper puppet. So it's like I want to make something from the experience and using the object to the beginning was like making almost like object theater puppetry because I felt like it had goes through the movement. It was just too much. It's already my body was invaded by that. So I need to reshift my idea to like something else. So I went to more the puppetry world, that piece particularly. Then after maybe 25 minutes of the work, I knew I have to go through more like a visceral way of moving because I knew I have to kind of like figuring out and deep into like to myself to figure out how I'm actually feeling a bit. So that came from my personal life, but a lot of time I like that. But for me, how I make a piece is always depend on who I have because I do not choreograph to them. I will ask people to create the material. Then I start looking at it and see, okay, that feels like really speak to me. That movement, how you do connect to me. So I just start like picking up some of the material from them. So for me, it's really important who I have in the studio together. It takes lots of time to figuring out. At least I need a 2 years more to figure out what I'm actually creating. I have a really fortunate. I have a really nice people work with me, and they actually come to studio and spend the time with me. So that's the way I work. Really, the dance is an important part of my work to me.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the business side of your practice? So, how do you go about booking shows and getting gigs? And
Yeah, that's like so difficult. It's very, very difficult to me. For booking the gig, like try to get the venue. It's very hard. I think it's one point I did show my work, but when I had the daughter in 2008, I have to take off time to just like be a mom. And the last I had the one piece 2008. Then the next piece was 2017. So it took close to 10 years to make another piece. And then I feel like I lost a lot of connection around that time of it. But also I felt some of the presenter told me I can't bring the people into my work. So when I approached one person, he said, "Well, you should probably think about a different way of presenting." And I was like, really shocked me. But Jim from Roulette, it's one of the venue, he was the only one said, "Well, I mean, it's important to keep creating as artists. That's more important than you getting a big house." He was like, "Don't worry about it. Keep going. You should make it work." and I will present you. So that was like Red told me that, and I feel like that for me it felt like okay, I can actually. I mean, I do have to think about that part of it, but at the same time, I feel like okay, I can be. It's okay to be an artist. So that's I felt.
Do you have anything else that you would like to share with us?
One thing I want to share is I'm making this new piece called Future Memory. It's right now it's a working title, but we're actually thinking about my mother reached 91 this year, and I was talking to my friend. My friend said once they start kind of declining, they can't come back to it. And she was telling me about her mother, and she said also like looking at her own mother, she felt really fear about her future. So it's kind of shocked me at the same time. I was like, whoa. And then I started thinking about, okay, what does this mean? Thinking about the future, like what's the future memories like? And one of my dancers also said when her sibling passed away, she said she lost a future memory. And then I was like, what does that mean? And she said, well, I was supposed to have Thanksgiving together in 2027, Christmas together 2028. And she said that's gone. So I lost a future memory. And the world is very beautiful to me. The future seems like ahead of time. The memory seems like past. But these two together, is what does this mean? So we are like figuring out what does this mean to us because dance is always like you're doing at the moment. Performing arts is you put stuff on the stage. As soon as you do it, disappear. But the something is still in like audience mind, or when I watch somebody's work, I still remember the moment of it or how I felt. So performing arts for me, it exists in the people, which I love about it. So this piece is kind of like a thinking about that. It's like, can we just, celebrate who I am or my age, how much we live, not just looking at what's next, what's future, but how can we just bring all our past to be at the moment together?
That's really cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for making the time to speak with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here.
Bye-bye.